You wanted real talk, and this is where you'll hear it. Uninhibited by the toxic influences of cancel culture, unvarnished and unfettered, unencumbered by the censorship of traditional radio, uncontaminated by big media interests.
And now, Sherman Unlimited.
Welcome to Sherman Unlimited. I'm Peter Sherman, and I have information for you Canadians, which is most of you. First, though, we also have a reasonable number of American friends who listen, and that began with a few American friends and relatives, and it became a one tells two and two tell four and four tell eight kind of thing. In other words, it's a podcast developing the way podcasts develop. So, my American friends, I know many of you personally, and I know that you could be a lot happier these days. You're worried about the midterms. You're worried about the stability of the executive branch. You're worried about the value of your money. You're concerned, even those of you who are avid gun owners, about what's going on when you get mass shootings every week or two. Some nutcase walks into a supermarket in Buffalo and kills 10 innocent people, and 2 weeks later, 19 children and 2 teachers die at the hands of another lunatic, as a bunch of chicken shit cops wait outside, letting it happen in Uvalde, Texas. The way I've heard it, first responders are supposed to run into danger, while the rest of us run away from it. Ask families of 9/11 first responders why their blessed loved ones went into the towers and never came back. All of this makes everyone sick, and nobody seems to want to come to grips with how to fix things smartly, except, of course, for Senator Ted Cruz, who thinks if they'd kept all the doors locked at the school except the main ones and had them under armed guard, well, none of this would have happened. His solution. So those are a few things that you're considering right now, and God help you, by the way, and God help us too, and here's why. Here's something we're considering in Canada, and listen to me, because this will blow your minds. And hey, Canadians, if you don't quite get what the notwithstanding clause is, turn up your volume. This is for you. The black sheep of Canadian Confederation, the province of Quebec, or La Belle Province du Québec, passed a law the other day known as Bill 96. Our parliaments use bill numbers, and bills are what legislation looks like before it passes into law. Anyway, Bill 96, now law, limits the use of English, one of the 2 official languages of Canada, in the public service in Quebec. It also allows government language inspectors to conduct searches and seizures within businesses of more than 25 persons without warrants to ensure the elements of the law are being respected. Respected? Respected? Hey, Quebec, what do you even know about the word respect? I'll tell you more about Bill 96 shortly, but first, here's a mini lesson about the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and that's our Constitution. It guarantees most of what you'd expect as citizens' rights in a democratic country. The one we are focused on today is language rights. Here's what the Charter says about that, and I quote, "English and French are the official languages of Canada and have equality of status and equal rights and privileges as to their use in all institutions of the Parliament and Government of Canada." Well, what about elsewhere? Places where we live and work and must communicate outside of the scope of the Parliament and Government of Canada. Well, we have fundamental freedoms, and they include things like freedom of thought, freedom of belief, freedom of opinion, freedom of expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication. So I could get into more linguistic interpretation, but I'd bore you. Suffice to say that we have 2 languages here, and we have freedom of expression. Or am I missing something? I can speak English, ou je peux parler en français. Well, we also have something else in that Constitution or Charter. It's known as the Notwithstanding Clause. Basically, it's an override that can be invoked by the Parliament of Canada or any of the provincial legislatures. In other words, if Quebec or any province wants to pass a law that tramples certain charter rights, it can. It does so by invoking Section 33, the Notwithstanding Clause, which in essence says that we have all these rights, but notwithstanding that, we're passing some law that overrides one or more of them. Let's stop here and riddle me this. When is a constitution not a constitution? Not a guarantee of the rights it enshrines? Well, friends, that would be here in Canada, where that crazy clause was inserted to keep all the provinces, and notably Quebec, happy. The short form is that confederation versus a federation or republic bestows all kinds of power on the provinces, health, education, and so forth, versus, say, the United States or the UK, where Parliament operates at a central level, and it covers all of that. Bill 96, now known as an act respecting French, the official and common language of Quebec, sets limits on the number of people who can attend English junior colleges. Even if you attend such an English junior college, you must take 3 mandatory 45-hour courses in French. The new law also touches on French in the workplace and gives sweeping new powers to Quebec's language police to investigate businesses suspected of not operating in the province's official language. As in, hey, that guy at the wooden desk in the corner has a copy of Microsoft Word open, and it's set to operate in English. So here's a summons. Have you ever heard of such bullshit in your life? And there's broad support in Quebec for it. It comes from the hinterland, as the current premier, François Legault, derives all his support from outside Montreal and has 0 seats in the Quebec legislature, called the National Assembly, from Montreal itself. Well, hell, that's where all the English live. You know, the underclass. Here's the Sherman view. Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau oversaw the constitutional talks in 1982, drafting this charter, and he had Queen Elizabeth fly over and sign the thing into law. But the notwithstanding clause makes it dysfunctional. Nobody has seen fit to mess with it, so there it sits. And now the son of the father is in power, Justin Trudeau. Would Justin want to shake the Quebec tree? He himself runs in a Quebec constituency, and his Liberal Party needs whatever seat count it can derive from Quebec at election time. So from our capital, Ottawa, we hear crickets. And that's before we even explore another law where Quebec used the notwithstanding clause, a gimmick, if you will, to thwart freedom of religion when it passed Bill 21 last year. That bill keeps any religious symbol from being worn or displayed in the public service. For example, no police officers wearing turbans, no provincial clerks wearing kippas, no teachers wearing hijabs. A dysfunctional province in a dysfunctional country. I'll say it again, a dysfunctional province in a dysfunctional country. Trudeau is touting new gun control legislation now. By the way, whatever he does on guns is okay with me. No guns for me. No interest in guns. So Trudeau will pass legislation that caps the number of handguns and assault weapons as it now stands. Can't buy any of them. Can't import any more of them. He calls it a freeze. Also, limits are being placed on the size of magazines, and there will be harsher criminal penalties for trafficking guns. So congratulations to Justin. I guess nobody told him, so I'll have to be the one. The gangbangers and the criminals who brandish the handguns and don't give a damn what legislation you pass, they'll still get handguns, and you can bet they'll use them. The good part, and there is a good part, is we're not as gun heavy as the USA, and we have nowhere near the numbers or access to assault weapons, so maybe, just maybe, we at least escape all of the mass murder going on south of us these days. Yeah, it's something, but it's not going to limit bad guys from owning guns. They're bad guys because the law is a non-starter for them. Oh, and before I go, in our nation's capital, the opposition Conservative Party tabled a motion that, if passed, would have annulled all the horseshit regulations pertaining to travel during COVID. It referred to airport delays, restrictions on travel, other countries reverting to normal. But damned if you could pass that under the Justin Jugmeat Coalition. So your friends from Vancouver aren't getting on an airplane anytime soon if they're not vaxxed. I am vaxxed, but I know more than a few who aren't. They spread, and we spread, or none of us do. Let's all just support our travel industry, okay? Just so you know, even the head of Public Health for Canada, Dr. Tam, says there's no appreciable tracking of any COVID spread on airplanes. Just one more example of how we allow an incompetent man heading an incompetent government to govern as an authoritarian and enforce actions like this for no discernible reason. Let me finish up this episode with a piece of audio from the Ronald Reagan Library that speaks for itself. Listen carefully. Here's the late President Ronald Reagan.
You know, someone very profoundly once said, many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism. And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
And there's Ronald Reagan with a good thought. I'm Peter Sherman. This is Sherman Unlimited, and thank you for listening.
Sherman Unlimited.
Let Peter know what's on your mind. Drop him an email. info@petersherman.com. Find future episodes wherever you find your favorite podcasts. So if you like what you heard, tell a friend. If you really liked it, tell 3 friends. If you really hated it, tell 3 enemies. We'll talk again soon.